This one's for Linda Park. Let's have some relaxing music here. Yeah, there we go. Hold on. There we go. Linda Park of Star Trek Enterprise has been kind enough to do not just one, but two cameos for me. And so I wanted to do this for her. This is more like a PSA. Now, my motivation for doing this particular video comes because of the event that's happening on Wednesday, October 3rd. Women of Star Trek Kamala. So you got Denise Crosby, you got Kay Mulgrew, that one actress from Star Trek Picard. I think Jerry Ryan's in there, I think, but I don't know. Anyway, there's different people in here. So I wanted to put in my bit. So this is a delicate topic, of course, and most people would refrain from doing this. So because of that, I set up a few house rules just for this video. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. I will refrain from name calling. Everything is above the belt. I will also not use proper nouns, but you'll learn a lot. Now, here's what I think will happen at this event on Wednesday, or I use the proper day. What I think will happen for this event is they're going to review the significant events for women in history, like this one here. How women, I remember women arguing with a professor on the radio that they wanted to be like the old days of marriage. But, marriage was such a controversial thing about now it is. I mean, it used to be you could rape your wife, you could beat your wife, uh, but we have marital rape laws, we have domestic violence laws. Women could not buy property, they could not own land, they could not live on their own. And this event here was a significant thing. Women could vote and women could buy property and a lot of things, a lot of rights were being introduced. And I still remember the burnings of the bra, but that was a little bit before my time, before Linda's time. I'm actually I'm a month older than Linda, a month and a half, I think. I'm older than Linda. So, what is it you said how old did you say I was, Linda? 26. That's right. So anyway, uh, this was significant. This event. I mean, there are many women in many professions. I mean, most of us agree about daycare and teachers, but I have a woman doctor. Um, I've had women working with me in actually my postal center, my post office, uh, with insurance. We had at least one female lawyer, but sometimes the male lawyers would flake off. We've had, I mean, there are good and bad women and good and bad men on all kinds of professions. So I have been taught because I lived in an all female family household. My dad was an angry, bitter drunk. To look at people closely, and I do look at people closely. It's difficult when you consider like having a baby, taking off. Sometimes for me, and this might be offensive, but I prefer older women when it comes to doctors or lawyers. So they've had their family, they've had their commitments with husband and God and whatever they wanted to do. So they have more time. Because, I mean, to be a woman overseeing a murder case and you want to have two children, that's a problem. That could be a problem because the person could go on death row, you never know. But that has generally been my perception. However sexist that may be, that has been my perception is to kind of be a little bit weary. And for me, I would choose older women in more serious professions like judges and doctors. Uh, but around me, I've never really had an issue, but I've never met really anybody outstanding. The only problem I have with my doctor isn't because of what gender, but that she doesn't have hemophilia. Now, uh, that's specifically that disease that it's a bleeding disorder. Linda Park has a disorder of her own, and the both of us are trying to find cures. We're in our old age trying to find cures, but hopefully late than never. Now, you and I have been through six administrations. The first one was barely there by the time we were born. Okay, we were halfway through that administration. And that man's still alive. Isn't that something? He's still alive as of this recording. But up until this man that you see here, it's been kind of like a little bit of mudslinging, a little bit of this and that, tit for tat. Um, but honestly, it wasn't until this man that everybody, like, I remember seeing a timeline. Now, I've seen many different versions of this. Now, to be fair, I was on team right, or the team, actually I was on team left. Okay, because my family, they signed up for the right. My father did. He was very, very right-handed instead of left-handed. But I was on team left for from 2015, 2016, 2017. And then it really got toxic. Now, from a timeline that I've seen, he criticized other administrations for weapons of mass destruction that did not exist, and that was the beginning of the media going after him. So when he made that speech, out of context, these people put his feet to the fire. So out of context, he talked about my race of people, because I don't know if you've ever seen videos of me. I'm not exactly of a extremely light European cast or uh, dark skin, or like I'm sort of like in the middle. My mom was born, and she was born in like Sinaloa, or south of the border. Okay, and she was born south of the border, and she came here at the age of 4. Okay, so it's been almost 80 years that she's lived in this country. She has her paperwork. My dad was raised a few states over east of where I am, because I live near the entertainment capital of the world, right? The pink stars on that Walk of Fame. So I live not too far away from that. So there's been a history of immigration in my family. There's a radio talk show host who came to this country illegally, but he, instead of committing crimes, he started his own radio show, and he's still there. He still does his radio FM show, but not everybody's that guy. And our former president was talking about illegals, not everyone. I mean, after 4 years ago from the last election, my faith was shaken. Do I personally believe something foul happened with those votes? Yes, but that's my personal belief. I can't say on the red button channel here that it was a fraud, because I would lose my channel. There's no proof, but there's a lot of circumstantial evidence, and I presented that in a video on that Musical Note app, and I think I presented it here too, about why the last president, why president number 45, why his speech was taken out of context. So he wasn't talking about all people of my race. He was talking about those that crossed the border. And I, as someone who's lived in the ghettos, okay, because I make fun of actors. I mean, it's easy for people on the U of Tubes and on the Twitchy channels. It's easy for influencers on the internet to make fun of Hollywood actors for taking themselves too seriously, living in their echo chambers, and they say, "I'm doing this all for you," and people look at each other like, "Do you know who that is?" No, I don't know. So it's easy to kind of go into that, but also a lot of people have to work their 8-hour shifts. I've worked blue collar jobs until 2 years ago, and I hated those blue collar jobs. I had no wife and kids. I had no obligations. So during 2020, that was a dark time. Just things fell apart. Who do you trust? Who do you believe in? I had no idea, but it wasn't the current administration or the administration that was going to take over. Here's our our promising future president taking on the old president here. This is the old debates. Never mind this. I wanted to show you this. I mean, here you see a true female leader right there to your right. A real noble leader. I mean, every time I hear her talk, she sounds like she passed her SAT scores. She sounds like, she really sounds presidential. Too bad she's mostly retired. But the woman on the right really sounds like she knows what she's doing. And the woman on the left, because I just don't. By the way, the woman on the right, she was called an asset for that country with the Red Army. What's that all about? There's no proof of that. They wanted to immediately discredit her. So her party on the left would discredit her as an asset. Well, that's real nice of them. By the way, a long time ago, a few years ago, maybe a decade ago, women wanted this guy. Remember this guy with the Robin Hood hat, with the green hat? Remember this guy? And then he just disappeared. Disappeared. You know what I mean? It's just like, what was that about? This guy. And then he just disappeared. All these narratives, conflicting narratives, to cinematically make this cute movie for us to placate us. But then he just gone. Just gone. And women would talk about women in my neighborhood. Middle-aged women would talk about this guy like he was the savior. And just gone. I remember this was from 2006. And I remember district attorney at the time, right? I don't think she was attorney general yet. So she was just a district attorney. I think she was for San Francisco. And yeah, she did some, I mean, like Perry Mason, like Matlock, right? Or Ally McBeal. She did some good cases, and then there were some bad cases, good and bad. But she got on that show, the O Show. You know whose name starts with O. We used to make fun of her weight back in the 90s. But yep, she was on that show. And, talking about her race, her ethnicity. She tries to claim full-on heritage of a darker-skinned nature, even though this is doctored. And that woman to her left, to Kamala's left, is probably the real person? Real grandma? Under this guy, no new wars were started. And I know a lot of people in the entertainment industry, they want to save all the puppies and kitties and trees, but you have to know what you're saving. It's not like that movie with the guy with the dark helmet and the mask and the red laser sword and the hero with the blonde hair and the blue laser sword. It's sometimes the good guys and bad guys are hard to distinguish. It's not an episode of Law and Order or episode of, whatever shows that you see. This is a different kind of animal. This is a whole different thing. And the good guys and the bad guys are hard to decipher. And when you think about presidential achievements, it's easy to compare this man from 80 years ago to the last guy, but that's the sort of the kick in the nads, female or male nads. It doesn't matter. I mean, you go back to those. I mean, you can pause this video at any time and look at the old man's achievements. By the way, he does have a funny, like squirrel hair on his head, doesn't he? But anyway, I can make fun of him. But anyway, there you see the achievements. There you see the achievements. No new wars. Trying to keep the peace. Trying to keep the peace with everyone. WTF is wrong with you? I don't know. It's mudslinging from the media. It's mudslinging from people here on X or we call it Twix. So it's just called Twix. I don't know. I am using like 12 proper nouns here so far. And to not be completely unfair, here is her side of the story. Though I feel like this is a little more glamorized. There's her side of it. I just think her better days were in the courtroom. In that courtroom, arguing against the defense, who was wrong, who was right. And I think those Ally McBeal days are over. I do. Some things are done right here, and a lot of other things are done wrong. Not everything a president does is wrong. But a courtroom and managing 300 plus million people, that's a whole different animal. It really is. And one person's had the best experience at it. So there's her life story. You could find it easily on the webs, on the tunes. Stay connected, you know that. So I guess when it comes to mean tweets or mean things people say versus what the issues are, employment, housing, immigration, doctor bills, doctors, what is it? Life insurance, health insurance, affordable insurance, transportation, building new roads. These are boring things, but these are the real issues, right? So I don't worry about that. I worry about what people achieve. Uh, it's actors versus legal authorities. We're not electing a performer. We're electing someone to really be in charge of us. To really be in charge of us. I mean, young people don't need to be tricked. They don't. I mean, a lot of people at this age, it's just like, oh, I don't really care about politics. It's not my thing. But the minute you tell them, oh, it's all about racism. If you're racist, then you should how dare you, right? You should not vote for a racist president or whatever. By the way, I will say the vice president that's running on the right side, I didn't like his comments about women staying in battering marriages. So you think a man should put up with Amber, like Johnny and Amber? Remember that couple, Johnny, Amber. Remember those two? Oh God, I came from a broken home, so I don't like this vice presidential. So I don't like everything that's right, especially that beached whale that was like closed off the beach, so he and his family could sit out there on the beach. That guy, or the governor of the penis-shaped state, Florida. Uh, didn't care for him either. Some of these people on the right are a joke. So I don't pick people on the left. I don't pick people. I use my common sense. Go for who's good and who's going to be best for us. One day it may not matter, but it seems to. And what I'm trying to say is that young people just have to be more informed. If all you care about is racism, don't bleep and vote. Don't vote. Don't vote for anybody. Stay at home. Just like 2020. Stay at home. Don't do a damn thing. Just don't do anything. It's better if you don't do a damn thing at all. I mean, if you want to know what real woman leader sounds like, the one that really inspires Star Trek, here's what one sounds like.
And our freedom. Just as we have seen through every major war and conflict before, those in power, those who gain from us being in a constant state of war, exploit that opportunity to take away more of our freedom. And as you know, once it's gone, we never get it back. The Patriot Act was shoved through and rushed through Congress in the days after the terrorist attack on 9/11, passing all of these egregious overreaches into our privacy and our civil liberties, violating the Fourth Amendment, not because they were truly needed because of 9/11, but the national security state saw an opportunity and they took it. And they said to anyone who opposed the Patriot Act, you are a traitor to America if you vote no. Taking advantage of the fear and concern that the American people had during that time of tragedy and grief, here we are over 20 years later. The Patriot Act was just reauthorized once again this year. And rather than the usual rubber stamp that people like Tom Massey and Justin Amash and Rand Paul and I fought against every single time.
Now, on a final note, there was a hurricane that happened over the weekend, and you had some people, millionaires or multimillionaires, gave their bit. And here, this man gave his bit. He did his bit. Don't care for that stupid hat, but yeah, these people did their bit. You got our current president who can't give additional resources to those people who need. Remember what happened to those houses in Hawaii? Remember that? And only like $700 was given out to those poor people. They lost their homes in Hawaii. They lost their homes on the islands. When is the president going to help with that? And this? What's going on? Meanwhile, you got the vice president who's gone to the border. And you could tell she does that hard look to the right. You guys are in the entertainment industry. You know what that is. That's reading either the cue card boy or looking at a teleprompt. Very well rehearsed, very well performed. We're not looking for actors. You have to, it's easy to explain politics to actors who are well-living, who want to see diversity and inclusion in everything. And I'm for identity politics. I'm for virtue signaling in the right places. Not too far to the left, but just enough to, like with that one anime that they did a live action version of, with a pirate, with a sort of a rubber band man pirate, and they had Mexican representation. I thought that was good. I liked that. But you got to explain diversity and the first female president to people who are blue collar people who work 8 to 12-hour jobs. So it's easy to consider those things when you are on that stage with Linda, the other Linda of Amazon origin there. So consider that. But also, more importantly, when we're looking at the vice president there, and only a woman would point this out, who wears a $70,000 Tiffany necklace to the border? Who does that? Thank you for your time, Linda. And vote, live long, and prosper.